My name is Tom, I represent Oculo. I'm going to talk about bringing the construction site to you. So let me start by telling you a story about Peter. Peter is a site manager working on a new hospital for the NHS. He knows it's an important project, so he makes sure to document everything as the project is being built. Once a week, he would go around, take pictures of every relevant part of the project, and then spend a few hours organizing it all, putting it together into documentation so that it's all well documented. One day, one of his colleagues asks him about a new piece of equipment, say around are the knobs installed in on the doors. Now, Peter realizes he has been to this area, he's taken a lot of pictures, but he has not taken that picture because it didn't seem relevant at the time. He goes through all the documents he has. The one bit that he needed is the one he didn't take. It's frustrating, it makes him look unprofessional, but luckily he can go and take that picture and resolve the situation. Let me tell you a different story. Meet Kevin. Kevin is the project manager, and he's discussing with subcontractors who claim that the reason they're late on the project is not their fault. The reason they're late is because works have not been completed and there's been materials left, and there's plenty of other reasons why it's not their fault. Kevin knows that's not true. He's seen that project, he's seen this area, he knows that it's not true. Luckily, Peter took all the pictures, so he's able to prove this. Alas, he spends a good few hours trolling through all those pictures, trying to identify what he needs, only to frustratingly realize that that evidence is not there. Again, the one picture he needed is the one that is not there. He knows he's right. The subcontractors also know they're right. What happens at the end? They end up splitting in the middle in absence of any other evidence. Lastly, let me introduce you Lisa. She's working on this project after Peter has gone. She identifies there is a leak behind the wall. Now, she's trying to identify what is the cause of that. Has something been installed incorrectly? Has it been installed in fact according to plan? Likely not. Now, the story is very similar. She can go through the pictures, except that in this case, she can't even rely on her memory if the pictures are not there, because it wasn't her taking those pictures, and the person in whose mind that memory is no longer the project. What's wrong with that story? The problem is that the evidence for construction sites and for construction projects is slow to capture. It typically is manual, laborious. It's hard to access. It's hard to find, it's hard to compare, and ultimately leaves blind spots. The one photo that you need is exactly the one you didn't take. We hear this over and over and over again. But there must be a better way. So at Oculo, this was our core idea of what we want to do. There must be a better way to solve this problem. Wouldn't we prefer to live in a world where those problems don't exist? How would that look like? What if you could indeed effortlessly have every square inch of your site documented every single day and have all of it? What if you did have perfect photographic recall of site conditions across time? And what if you could access this anywhere and at any time? Wouldn't this be a better world to be in? This is what we do at Oculo. Let me explain how it works. Oculo is basically the simplest, fastest, easiest way to digitally remember every single detail of your site. All it takes is a 360 camera mounted on a hard hat, which needs to be switched on, and that is it. The user is then free to simply walk the site, hands-free, go about their job, and we remember every step that they take. There's no restriction on how you walk. It's completely passive. You can walk differently different days. We will remember again every step you take. Let me show you how that looks in practice. So this is a project we're working on. You can see the different paths different people took over time. If you click on any one of them, we'll transport you to a fully comprehensive coverage of that spot in time. So no longer are we talking about only this section here, which seemed relevant. We've covered everything, up, down, left, right, in fact behind as well. You don't even need to think about where to look. We'll just remember everything, all of it. You can navigate through a very familiar interface like Google Street View, through the arrows here or through the map on the bottom. And if indeed we have a situation where there is a problem behind this wall, all it takes is a single click to start comparing past photos aligned to this one. So you can choose any date, and effectively you have X-ray vision through walls. Perfect memory, whether you were there or somebody else. If you do have a model for your project, it's not required, but if you do have it, you can instantaneously compare captured reality against the model. Here we can see a typical case where what was in the plan is not exactly what was actually installed. This is a fully interactive view of it. Oftentimes we find that while models are created, people on site have not been trained in how to use them, and once they start using Oculo, they realize this is the first time they actually see the model, so of course this is built differently. But how could you know if you didn't have access to this before? You could use this environment for collaboration. You can add observations, comments, simply select the relevant area and add an issue. In fact, you can use 2D pictures, mobile pictures. We do have a companion mobile app. As you walk around, again, what's really important is that it's as easy as possible to use to reduce any barriers for use and adoption. So all it takes is a single click of a button to take that photo. You don't have to stand there, fill in 10 different items in the form and whatnot. Simple click and it's done. You can also speak to it like on WhatsApp, and we'll just remember all of it. We know where you are in 3D space. You are here, looking in this direction. We'll place that detail in the 3D space. Once all of these bits of information are captured, you can obviously navigate through them, filter, etc. But also those reports that take quite a bit of time every week to generate. With a single click, you can indeed generate a full report of page by page, every photo, where was it taken, who said what, all of it, single click. If the user uses the latest iPhones, guess what? You can use those pictures to take measurements as well. And lastly, we don't have to limit ourselves to construction process. What about documenting assets? Somebody here asked about documenting assets once they're finished. You can use the same environment to start documenting what was installed where, which assets were in a very visual, interactive 3D environment. You can see what was installed, precisely which item from which manufacturer, which barcode was exactly used, on what date, when does the warranty run out, all the O&M documentation, all of it in very easy, intuitive way. So your perfect replica of what's out there, so much more richer information. So what are the results of this? We've been working with a number of people in the industry. This is what they see. First, obviously, we're talking about a much faster documentation process. 10 times faster than the alternative, and guess what? We have 10 times more data. In terms of coordination of works, rather than arguing with subcontractors about what's outstanding, what's the status, and everybody has their own opinion, you have one single place eliminating all those discussions. You can simply pull it on the screen, everybody sees what the reality actually looks like, and those debates. In fact, you don't need to have people physically present. Rather than having to wait until somebody arrives on site to look into an issue and provide an opinion, you can do a lot of those things remotely. You save yourself both travel time as well as decision-making time. Rework. Wilma Dixon specifically had this issue about not every part of what happened behind cladding was perfectly documented. They knew they did it right, but it wasn't perfectly documented. Thanks to this, you are able to prove, you are able to remove those layers without having to rip apart big chunks of the project to prove what's behind the walls. And of course, any disputes and claims can be resolved much faster. You can nip disputes in the bud by just proving what the reality looks like and agreeing on common shared version of reality. And should this escalate to a claim, again, it's much easier to identify information, even if the person who was taking pictures is no longer there. That's it. That's us at Oculo. If this sounds interesting, I stand right there. We obviously are proud to be working with Symetri, so feel free to reach out to any of your contacts at Symetri as well.